geeks, and welcome to this sampling of the Wizards the Podcast Guide to Comics Patreon exclusive Super Cinema. We'll be talking about Superman 2025 and Fantastic Four First Steps. You can watch the full episode exclusively on our Patreon, link in bio.
Hello there, and welcome to another edition of Super Cinema. This time, it's really living up to its name. That's right, it is super and fantastic. We went to theaters for this edition. This is something I don't know that we've ever done before on Super Cinema. We're always looking back on the old existing films with a history. This time, it's fresh. The reviews are coming in a way that I can't anticipate. I'm so curious to get the thoughts of Pete. How you doing?
Good. Hello out there.
Of course, Michael. Hello.
Howdy.
So we all managed to get to theaters this weekend to at least see one.
Some of us more so than others.
Yeah. So
we played a little catch up.
Exactly, which is fine. And we may have a follow-up to this as well. But let's talk first things first. James Gunn's Superman, okay? I gotta know, this is something that was in development for so long. And when they announced that James Gunn's taking over the DC films and he's gonna reshape the universe and everything, were you guys anticipating this one? Did you want more Superman? Did you want it through the lens of James Gunn? Or is it just kind of like, well, check it out?
I think Superman is like always the temperature gauge for any new relaunch of sort of DC movies. And obviously we have a lot more front loaded at this period of time than we did in the past. But I feel like Superman is like their guy and they got to start out with that. And so it's like probably the best way to start this kind of refresh that they're doing. You could quasi argue that they've already kind of launched with Suicide Squad or, Peacemaker or things like that spun out of James Gunn directing that. But I think this is like the true kind of first leaping off point. And I don't know. I've been looking for a refresh. And I think the thing that I've been saying to Mike, I've been saying to people for a couple of years now is like, if DC could just get some movies with a little bit of color and a little bit of fun, that it could be a really good thing for them again. And, like when that started looking like this was going to be the case with this one, I was like, all right, like let's have a hope for it.
How about you, Michael?
So I started thinking about that. Superman Returns was meant to be the start of a jumping off point, and it failed to launch. Man of Steel was the same thing, and it, sort of went worse and worse as the movies went on. I am hopeful that this time around, because they have, a conscious way to steer the ship, I assume this might be the way in finally, but we've seen historically two past Superman reboots not be successful in relaunching a universe.
Yeah, and I know you were a big fan of Superman and Lois, right? Like, so you like that show.
So I like that show. I actually just rewatched the Brandon Routh Superman Returns. And spoilers, guys, I think it's a better movie.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. Well, we will get into that. I will say for me, I love Guardians 1. I love the Guardians holiday special. The rest, and Peacemaker season 1, I love as far as DC stuff. But the rest of James Gunn, for me, I kind of get his shtick. It's just like he takes obscure characters, he refreshes them, he makes them his own, but they're a little raunchy, they're a little edgy, and he's pushing boundaries and all that kind of stuff. And so when he's doing Superman, I'm like, that doesn't fit James Gunn for me. And so it was more an oddity. I'm like, I'm going to see his take on Superman, but this is a movie I could take or leave. Like, I wasn't like looking forward to it at all. Like publicity photos, nothing was drawing me in except Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. So we'll talk about that. But it was just like, I just came into the theater and just be like, okay, show me what you got. But I'm not excited for a new Superman. I'm not excited for the launch of a new DC universe, even though like all the books I'm picking up at the comic book store these days, it's pretty much all DC. Like, I love what they're doing with comics, but they've lost me in their films. Even the Suicide Squad, I like the David Ayer Suicide Squad so much better. The James Gunn one is totally forgotten. I forgot that Peacemaker spun out of the Suicide Squad. To me, it's just that first season, and now we're getting a second season. Creature Commandos did not get me to, get on board with Max again. Peacemaker too will, but
I didn't get through episode 1 of Creature Commandos. I didn't finish episode. I was bored. I was like, this is not for me.
Yeah. But then we get to the theaters and we see what he's presenting to us. How did you guys feel about that opening that we saw in theaters for the last 4 or 5 months? Like, did you realize, they're just showing us the first 5 minutes of the movie, like in theaters, all these previews we've been getting?
I mean, I think I saw a handful of spoilers, very minor spoilers before I got there, which was sort of like, it hits the ground running with the stuff that we've seen, and then it kind of goes from there. So, at least it contextualized what we've been seeing and theorizing about. Is it Bizarro? Is it, a clone? Like what's going on here? And I think the other thing that the first 5 minutes does, and kind of the thing that is one of the highest highs I think about this movie for a lot of people, and one of the things that I'm also like, is this the reason why this did as well as it's doing, is crypto.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people that maybe were lukewarm about even thinking about going to see this were kind of like, that's really cute with the dog. Like, I'm kind of into that. So
we need a new Grogu. Give us a new Grogu.
Yeah, but like they got people in the theater for it. And like, definitely the reviews from like my family and some friends I've talked to are like, crypto is a high point. Crypto is a high point. But I'm worried, right? Because the movie, and we'll talk more about it, I think stands on its own without crypto, although I think crypto plays a pretty significant role in likability in it. But I'm like, is this going to be the launch of the DC without crypto available? You know what I mean? Unless he heads off with Supergirl into Woman of Tomorrow, which is now just Supergirl, not Woman of Tomorrow anymore. Yeah. But I don't know, like, is crypto carrying this, or is Superman?
They definitely want crypto to be lovable. I will just say, like, because I could just like pull that out of my review. Crypto did nothing for me in this, other than to say, he's annoying. He's a bad dog. He's the reason I don't want pets, is crypto. And so I was just like,
but you have
need more scenes. But I have too many pets. That is true. And none of them were my choice. So yeah. So it's just
they have that great moment where Superman's describing crypto. He's like, he's not even a good dog.
Yeah, I feel. And I liked that it wasn't his dog either by the end when they revealed him. Okay, good. Superman could probably find a better pet. Let's get Beppo the super chimp in there.
Exactly.
So, I think first of all, I hated the opening. I hated coming into the movie with him being like, I don't need to see his origin story, but I wanted to see how the fight escalated to that point where he got so badly injured. Why take that out? Why? Like, it's stupid. The dog, I think, is cute in moments and a little bit like heavy-handed in others, like almost like a Jar Jar Binks-esque kind of like, oh, look, we need something silly here. Yay. I hate to say it, I didn't love this movie. Like, there are elements of the movie that I did like, but I felt like I was watching a Superman version of Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's have a silly, fight with songs and like a 360 camera move here and there, and and the movie feels really, really rushed at certain points and really slow in others. Like, I wanted to spend more time in the movie. Like, give me a half an hour more to like give me some context and things, and just like let it breathe. We don't need to just like joke action beat. But like, I was like, all right, it's not Marvel. Let's just let it live a little bit.
I loved this movie. I don't know if I'm going to be the one that likes it the best out of the group here today or not. We'll see. But I know I like it better than you. We've talked about it. But I think the one thing I would argue that was an issue for me, which is in the vein of what you're saying, is that it seemed like he had a lot of ideas that he wanted to get out into this, and like not enough time to do them all. You know what I mean? And like, for me, I'm somebody that's like, all right, like, give me the 4-hour version and let's do all those ideas, but
100%. That was my walking out of the theater. I was just like, that was a lot of movie in a short amount of time. And it just felt like, what was the central idea? Like, I was trying to walk out of it. Like, what did he want us to feel? Like, what was the focus? Now, that being said, like, everybody else, what'd you think? And I was like, solid B+ for me.
That's what I said. I said the same thing. B+.
It's like, it's good. It's just not great. And because it's a little over ambitious, but the stuff that's good, like, I cannot get over how much I loved Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane.
100%.
The best part of the movie for me. And I love just the back and forth, that initial scene in the apartment, the interview scene.
That's the best scene in the whole movie. That's the best scene by far in the whole movie. My other question I kept asking myself, and listen, no disrespect to David Cornsweet, I thought he played a very good Superman, but I kept saying to myself, why couldn't this have been Henry Cavill? Like, why not? Like we already have established his history. Like, why couldn't it be him? Like, I don't understand.
I think for me, it would have been too jarring to have him back in such a different temperature of character. Like, like I'm not saying he couldn't come in and absolutely play it. He's an actor; he can act. But like, this version where it's kind of like what I would call like the dude Superman. Like, he's kind of just like, oh, dude, like we've got kind of like it's not like a little bit away from the Boy Scout sort of thing, and it's a little bit closer to like, all right, I'm kind of like, an average guy who just happens to be able to fly and punch through walls and all this sort of thing, so
which is kind of who Superman is supposed to be. If we're saying he's a Midwestern guy, I think they nailed that tone, and David Cornsweet did a good job. Like
this for me, like again, is he maybe the best version of Superman that's ever been on screen? I don't know that I can definitively say that, but what I think I like the most about this version of this character on screen is, to me, he feels the most in my head with what I associate Superman to be, which is like someone full of hope, someone who's a champion of life, even if that means saving a squirrel. You know what I mean? Like, I know that's getting a lot of hate online, but that was like a little funny moment for me, because like he pauses when he's fighting the kaiju and he stops and is like, is everybody okay? I'm like, that's Superman.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No,
like,
I agree.
That's something that's been missing from so many iterations over time that I'm like, I love that. But there's also like the little like flip side of this character who, and I guess maybe they're playing with this a little bit, who's kind of like unsure of himself. And
well, that's how they set it up, right? It's the first battle he's ever lost. So he's been on top all this time. And this movie is all about him kind of being dumped on and facing challenges that he didn't have to consider. Public opinion, an actual, force that can beat him, like all those types of things, which is the one thing that, you could say it's more relatable. To me, it made Superman a little self-involved, which, although he has that caring for humanity, it's definitely a story about like, why is everybody picking on me? I'm doing the right thing. Yeah, and that kind of attitude, I don't associate with Superman. Like, he's a little bit above that. And I understand James Gunn wanted to make him more relatable, but then I think Superman should be slightly removed. Christopher Reeve, he is likable and aw shucks, but he is like also, hey, I'm a little bit beyond humanity, but not
like the moment that I hated most in the movie, and we see it in the trailer and whatever, is when, Mr. Terrific kind of goes to him like, what are you doing? Something he's like, what do you think I'm doing? Like, Superman wouldn't say that
stuff. I'm not missing out. Like, that is funny, but
it's in the trailer, I thought that was weird. In the context of what happened right then in the movie, that made me laugh big time. I was like, all right, I get it.
But I feel like that would have been a funnier line to give Guy Gardner to say. Like, that's kind of the, and my other big gripe with the movie is, they kept saying, oh, he's less powerful than other Superman, and he's like, slightly underpowered, but like his power set is so all over the place. Like, he can literally catch a building sideways and hold the whole thing up and like stop the kaiju underneath it, but then at the same token could get like knocked through the earth with ease. It just was like, oh, where's the power set here? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I will say, we talked about, Superman, his take on Superman is maybe a little unique. And that's why I thought it was refreshing to see a new take on Superman. Is it what I wanted? Again, you come in with so much expectation for a Superman movie versus what he did with Guardians, versus what he did with Peacemaker. Like these characters where it's just like, nobody cares about these characters. He can do whatever he wants. This is the movie I was most looking forward to.
Same. And I honestly can tell you right now, I loved this movie.
Yes.
I liked it so much more than Superman. I was more worried that this was going to be a stinker versus Superman.
It was hard to know 100% what they were going for. And that's what I loved about it. I felt like the teases they gave us, it was just like aesthetics.
Yeah.
We have some idea. It's got this 60s vibe to it, but there wasn't plot given away. Really. You didn't know, like, we know Galactus is in it. We know Silver Surfer's in it, but in what capacity?
Yeah.
And I will just say, like, for me, because it's been so lackluster lately with Marvel,
this felt like vintage Marvel.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, I was like, are they going to go back to their old formula secretly, or is this something new? And this is something new.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, like, they found a way to do something new. And like, my number one criticism when I walked out of it is, this is not a funny movie. Most Marvel movies are feeding off the Robert Downey Jr. sarcasm established in Iron Man, and everything took that for years and years. We're going to be self-deprecating. We're going to make these jokes. And what was so refreshing about Fantastic Four First Steps is this was like a hopeful film. This was an idealized superhero story where, guess what? This is a team that actually is a team. They know how to work together. They actually care about each other.
They know how to use each other's strengths with each other. And what also I liked about this movie in particular was, one of the biggest gripes people have about Fantastic Four is, why would Sue Storm's little brother be on the space? Like, they gave everybody a significant purpose, and they were all geniuses in their own right. And they were able to decipher things their own way, and they knew how to use each other's powers, and they listened to each other, and they worked off of each other. There were jokes in the movie, but it wasn't like, oh, it's minute 4, hit a joke, minute 4, hit a joke. Like, it wasn't one of those.
Yeah, it was very surprising, the tone of it all, because it is very, like, it pulls you into the world, and so much of it, like, there is a lot of, like, I don't know how you want to put it, like, idol worship, where it's just like, these are our heroes, these are our protectors, but it didn't feel like they were overdoing it. It's like, no, this is a team that has earned it.
Yeah.
And in that moment in time, when you think of the 50s, early 60s era, where it's just like, oh, these are our champions of the world. That's kind of how people were accepting, these exceptional individuals that were in the public eye.
And not only have they earned it as, like, just heroes, but how they've improved society, right? Like, so much of superhero fandom or movies and whatnot, it's just like, oh, let's beat the bad guy, right? No, it's they showed that Reed and Sue were, like, helping the UN, or they were making new technology. Like, they were citizens of the world, making the world better.
That was so huge. That is what is so interesting when you compare Superman to Fantastic Four, is here is like a very cynical, ugly view of the world. Here's somebody trying to do good, and the world is going to tear him down.
Yeah.
And this Fantastic Four movie is like, no, what if the hero could actually inspire the entire world to work together? What if there is a actual world-ending crisis, and it's not just the heroes saving the day? Everybody is
the whole planet gets together and does something together to try to save Earth. That was a preview of our Patreon exclusive Super Cinema. For this and more, go to our Patreon and check it out. We have tons of great content, back issues of Wizard Magazine, tons of other Super Cinema episodes. You can also check out our Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Facebook, you name it. We're all over the place. Like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more.